2022, the peak of Omicron. Hospitals are overwhelmed, governments are spending trillions fighting the pandemic. At the same time, Pfizer publishes its annual report. Revenue, $100 billion, a record in the company's entire history. Net income, $31.4 billion in a single year. Oxfam calculated and the three largest vaccine companies were making $1,000 every second at the height of the pandemic. This is a ranked list of companies that made the most money from COVID-19. We rank them by three criteria: total profit, dependence on government money, and how controversial their decisions were during the pandemic. The higher a company is on this list, the stronger the combination of all three factors at once. 6 companies, one winner. But the company that made the most money may not have made the most controversial decisions. That is a separate question. Number 6, Johnson & Johnson. By our criteria, J&J is the least extreme company on this list, not because it was more honest than the others. The Johnson vaccine received authorization in February 2021. The US government provided an advance, more than $1 billion. It guaranteed the purchase of 100 million doses before the vaccine had received full approval. 6 weeks later, the FDA suspended its use over blood clot reports, then restricted it. Then in June 2023, the vaccine quietly disappeared from the market. The company did not use the word recall, it simply withdrew the emergency use authorization. The remaining doses expired. The only COVID vaccine completely pulled from circulation after the government had already paid for it in advance, and people who believe they were harmed by this vaccine cannot sue the company. The PrEP Act grants manufacturers broad immunity from lawsuits. The company is protected. The losses fall on patients and taxpayers. In terms of profit, J&J falls behind every other company on this list. That is why it is number 6. Number 5, Gilead Sciences, Remdesivir, the only FDA-authorized treatment for COVID at the start of the pandemic. Developed with taxpayer money, the government invested at least $70 million in development and clinical trials. In June 2020, Gilead set the price. A 5-day course, $3,210 for American patients with private insurance. Independent researchers at Public Citizen calculated manufacturing one course costs $9. The markup, more than 350 times. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky stated officially, Gilead is charging more than 400 times the price at which it can turn a profit. And this is not business. This is looting during a crisis. In October 2020, the WHO published results of the Solidarity trial, the largest COVID treatment study in the world. Conclusion: Remdesivir does not reduce mortality, does not reduce the need for ventilation, does not shorten hospital stays. Gilead earned $873 million in a single quarter of 2020 from a drug that, according to the world's largest study, does not save lives, at a markup of 350 times production cost, built on taxpayer money. Number 4, AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca positioned its vaccine as non-commercial, no profit during the pandemic, the company's official stance. That is true, but here is what is interesting. The UK government signed an indemnity agreement with AstraZeneca. If people harmed by the vaccine win compensation in court, the company does not pay. Taxpayers pay. In February 2024, official documents appeared in the UK High Court. AstraZeneca admitted for the first time the vaccine can in very rare cases cause thrombosis with thrombocytopenia. 51 claimants, £125 million in damages sought. The Telegraph published the words of Kate Scott, wife of Jamie Scott, who suffered permanent brain injury. She said, "We are asking for an apology, fair compensation, the truth." AstraZeneca is protected by the indemnity. The bill goes to the British taxpayer. The company exited the pandemic with growing revenue across its full portfolio and without legal risk on the vaccine, not the largest profit on this list. but one of the most carefully constructed protections. This is not even the craziest part of this story. Subscribe. The worst is still ahead. Number 3, BioNTech. Before 2020, BioNTech was a small German biotech company with no commercial products. The German government allocated 375 million euros for vaccine development. Pfizer took on manufacturing and distribution. In 2021, BioNTech reported net profit of 21 billion euros. The net worth of co-founder Ugur Sahin grew from $300 million to $6 billion in a single year. But the main question is not the profit. The main question is what the company did with the technology. The mRNA technology behind the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine was developed over decades with government funding across multiple countries. During the pandemic, India and South Africa proposed temporarily suspending patent protection so that manufacturers in developing countries could produce vaccines independently. BioNTech and Pfizer opposed this. Oxfam documented less than 1% of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine supplies went to low-income countries during the critical period of the pandemic. While Africa was vaccinated at 3 to 4%, Europe and the United States were already on their third dose. Technology created with public money, protected by patents, unavailable to those who could not pay. Number 2, Moderna. In 2020, the company officially confirmed 100% of the funding for its vaccine development came from the U.S. federal government. The government invested $12 billion. NIH scientists worked alongside Moderna researchers to develop the key spike protein stabilization technology, the foundation of the vaccine. Then Moderna quietly withdrew patent applications in which it would have had to name government scientists as co-inventors. Public Citizen exposed this in 2021. The estimated manufacturing cost per dose, $2.85 per independent analysis. The government paid $15 to $26 per dose under contract. Moderna earned a markup of 500% on a product created entirely with public money. Revenue grew from $803 million in 2020 to $19 billion in 2022. Then in early 2023, Moderna announced a new commercial price, $110 to $130 per dose, a markup of 4,000% above production cost. At a U.S. Senate hearing, Columbia Law School professor Christopher Morton said directly, Mr. Bansal claims the value of the vaccine justifies the price, but his testimony ignored a key question. Who created that value? It was the U.S. government, the American taxpayer. Bansal replied, this type of pricing is consistent with the value of the product. The product created 100% with government money. Number 1, not because Pfizer made the most controversial decisions, but because it made the most money by a significant margin. 2022 revenue, $100 billion. For the first time in the company's history. $56.7 billion from COVID products alone. Net income, $31.4 billion. $11 billion of that went directly to shareholders, dividends, and share buybacks. While the pandemic was still ongoing, the government gave Pfizer an advance of $5.97 billion before the vaccine even existed. It guaranteed a market. It removed financial risk entirely. Having received that money, Pfizer raised the vaccine price by 56% between 2020 and 2022, and announced plans to raise it 4 times more after the pandemic. The Dutch research center Somo published a report. Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, and Sinovac made a combined $90 billion in net profit from COVID products in 2021 and 2022. The scientific foundation was funded by governments for decades. The companies patented the result and billed twice, first to governments, then to patients. For 2 years, Pfizer's COVID products generated more revenue than the total healthcare spending of most countries in the world over the same period. That is not a metaphor. That is a line from the annual report. COVID showed that humanity learned to create vaccines at record speed in 9 months. That is a Genuine scientific achievement. But it showed something else. These vaccines were created with government money by government scientists in government laboratories, then patented, protected by contracts with confidentiality clauses, and sold back to the same governments at market prices. The speed at which vaccines are created is determined by science. Who benefits from those discoveries is determined by contracts. And those contracts were not written by you. Welcome to Vaultside.